Hello all, welcome to the presentation of the NBA Stat Board. This has been prepared as a part of my assignment. First, I would like all my colleagues to go through the dataset. I chose to work on an NBA game stat dataset. The dataset had 9,840 rows and 42 columns. I would like you all to have an overview of the data that was available. The data consisted of the teams, the city they belong to, the date on which a particular game was played, the opponent against which the game was played, if the game was played at home court or away. And other than that, it consists of the scoring statistics, such as points scored by the opponent, field goals attempted, field goal made, the percentages, and more. Now, I would like you all to go through the tools that I used to make this presentation. I used the following tools called Jupyter Notebook for cleaning the data, Power BI for making a dashboard. I used a PowerPoint presentation to capture all my results in this presentation, and Screencast to present this video. Now, let's go through a summary of steps followed. First, I downloaded the dataset. After that, I used Jupyter Notebook to clean the dataset. I also used Jupyter Notebook to map all the home courts of the team using the Folium library. After that, I downloaded a clean file in a CSV format from Jupyter Notebook and prepared a dashboard using the same. I used PowerPoint presentation to capture all the data and put this presentation together. Let's go through the steps one at a time. First, I download a dataset. In this assignment, I chose to work on a dataset that consists of NBA game stats for all the teams in the league for the following seasons, starting 2014-2015, going up till 2017-2018 season. The objective of choosing the dataset is to create a dashboard where one can capture the performance of each team in every game possible. Next, we move on to step 2. Step 2 is processing the data using Jupyter Notebook. First, I would like to take you all through my Jupyter Notebook and then move on to the slides. I loaded the necessary libraries, then loaded the dataset that had to be processed. As you can all see, as I told you earlier, 9,840 rows and 42 columns. Then I check the data types, which is if the data is an integer, if the variable is an object, a float, or an integer. Then we check the shape of the data and move on to cleaning the data. I checked for the null values, but there were none. I found that these two columns, one was the serial number and the other was the game number, were not required for me to process the data. So I dropped these two and moved on to checking the data statistics. After checking the data statistics, I moved on to checking the correlation of the data. So as you can see, there are a lot of variables in this data set, and it goes on and on. And we can see that free throws make a good correlation with the number of fouls. So as you all know, when an opponent fouls a player, the player gets free throws. So that's the reason of this correlation. Also, in a similar manner, the opponent free throws have a very high correlation with team fouls of the team that has the home court. Then I downloaded my clean data set and worked on the data set using Power BI. Other than this, I went a step forward to create a Folium map and check all the home courts of various teams. So as you can see, if I click on this, it shows that Portland Trail Blazers, the Moda Center, is located on the west coast. In a similar manner, we can see that Philadelphia 76ers Wells Fargo Center is located on the east coast. To use as markers, I used an icon library to get the image of the hoop icon. Then I downloaded this map as an image and used it as a background for the slides. Now let's move on with our slides. So as I showed you in the Jupyter notebook, I loaded the libraries, then the dataset, and this is a glimpse of the dataset. Then clean the data and check the volume of the data. Following that, I dropped the unnecessary columns, after which my dataset then I captured the correlation and used this map, this image of the map that I created using Folium as a background image. Using the dataset that I downloaded from Jupyter, I created this dashboard. It has got certain number of slicers that can help you choose the exact team and year, and against a particular opponent, the home court, the win and loss, and it will show us how the parameters changes. So using the dashboard, we can conclude that this dashboard is made for using Power BI. We created the dashboard, and we can conclude that using this dashboard, in the previous slide, we can fetch information about any team's points, rebounds, assists, and steals, and their shooting percentages. Let's take an example. Let's say if you want to find out the stats for Los Angeles Lakers in the month of December 2017 against Houston Hornets, where the Lakers won. So let me go ahead and tell you that there were 2 games played in the month of December, and they won in only one and lost the other one. So these are the stats that I can get using the slicers. And once I put the values in the slicers, my dashboard goes from looking like this to this. Now I would like to move on to Power BI to go ahead with the presentation. I created this dashboard using the dataset NBA Game Stats. Now, as you all can see, this is not a competitive dataset, but an informational one. I can choose a team, let's say Cleveland, and find out that in the year 2017, in the month of January, what was the game that they won against Brooklyn? So as visible, first of all, it shows me where the stadium for Cleveland is located, and it's right over there. It shows me the percentage of free throws, field goals, and 3-point shots made. Then it shows me the total number of points scored in the games with a particular opponent in that month, in that year. It shows the rebounds, assists, and blocks and steals for that game. We can use this any number of times. We can change the name of our opponents. We can choose between any of the 30 NBA teams. Let's go back and try the example that we had. LA Lakers playing against Houston Rockets in the year December 2017, where they won. In the away game. And as you can see, these are the results, and that can also be seen in this table. I thank you all for this presentation, for allowing me this time, and